We are delighted to host today's conversation on the new art of restaurateuring, authenticity in a post COVID world. In recent years, India's dining scene has shifted from global aspiration to rooted authenticity as diners increasingly seek culture rich experiences. Rohit Khattar, founder of founder chairman of Old World Hospitality and the creator of Indian Accent and Chor Bazaar, joins A.D. Singh, founder of the Olive Group, to discuss how the art of restaurateuring is evolving in a post-COVID world, moderated by Anuti Vishal, leading sorry, leading restaurant columnist. The panel will explore how heritage, storytelling, and thoughtful design shape contemporary restaurants and how they are responding to changing tastes and expectations in India today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and a very good afternoon to all of you. We hope to have an extremely candid and engaging session. But a little context before I start asking all the questions that I have for both AD and Rohit. Both of them were very kind to be a part of this book that Samrita has published, and there were the three authors talking about it just before this, called A Table for Four. Now, this is a unique book which I don't think has been attempted at all in India because it traces the evolution of India's dining scene. Both Rohit and AD have contributed essays which talk about their personal evolution as restaurateurs, but also because they have been in this business for now a good 25 to 35 years. They have really the correct view of how things have changed, how tastes have changed, how trends have changed, and therefore how the mechanics of restaurants have changed. And this is exactly what we are going to be talking about today. COVID, as we all experienced, was quite the watershed moment. It has changed all our lives, but also very importantly, the way people consume restaurants. And that's how we are going to begin today. I'll ask you, AD, first. Do you think there has been a substantial change pre COVID and post COVID?
Hi, everybody. COVID, of course, for all of us restaurateurs was a nightmare, unimaginable nightmare. But what was very reassuring to see, and what helped, I think, all of us get back on our feet, was that when people came out of COVID, one, of course, they were tired of being locked up, very keen to go out. They had not, as we had feared, moved from the dining out habit to the dining at home habit. They were still really looking forward to going out and eating out. And one. Number two, because they've been locked up for so long, they had a lot of disposable income to spend. And partly also, I think, because of COVID, we sort of realized life is not forever. Indians are very careful with their money. We tend to save and, for the future, for our kids, etc. But I noticed after COVID, people were much more willing to spend. So the ratios of disposable income really went up more towards the line across Asia. And thirdly, very interesting, though they were cooped up, didn't travel, etc., but they were looking a lot on social media, what's happening around the world. And so when they came out post-COVID, they were really curious, adventurous, hungry. And that was lovely for us restaurateurs because we could finally do more different things, be more international to our audiences than we were able to be before. So I'd say in those ways, COVID made a big change.
Rohit, what's your take on it? And also, while the propensity to spend has increased, has also the audience behavior changed? And when they're spending all that money, are they spending on the older sort of restaurant and restaurant experiences or newer sort of experiences?
So I think AD's covered a lot of the ground, um, but I think the biggest tragedy was how we couldn't really bring our employees back. So that kind of also taught us to be slightly more frugal, because it's horrible to fire someone. It's better to hire less and then make sure that you can take care of them. So we obviously took care of them as much as we could, but it just kept on and on and on. I think the lessons, I mean, one could write a book on just the lessons that COVID taught us. I remember I was on the board of Club Mahindra, and, it Club Mahindra Resorts never done better because everybody was going away. And people also realize that life is very unpredictable. So you're absolutely right. People started spending on experiences. Our sales at Indian Accent have never been higher um, post COVID, um, and keep on increasing all the time. At the same time, either you're really at that end of the market where somebody says, okay, it's my anniversary, it's my birthday, or I want to really, really blow it out, so I will go and spend 7,000 a head. But by the same token, if you're having a meal, it's almost like, I mean, when you go to see a movie right now, you end up spending, depending on where, if recliner seats and Pepsi and popcorn, and a family could be spending 10,000 rupees for a movie, which is why the movie theaters, as you recall, weren't doing well because OTT came in, Zomato and Swiggy came in. Same logic. I'm growing my casual dining brands far more aggressively. um, Sub 2,000 rupees is where we feel the growth is. Once in a while, there'll be cities where we can open Indian Accent. I had rejigged my plans, London, Singapore, um, because they all got hit. They all got. Dubai actually didn't get hit. No, I'm saying these are the ones that got hit. Dubai actually is where we should open, because that, excess, there's nothing sells more than excess out there. So, but a lot of the other cities that we thought would work, even within the US, all collapsed. San Francisco collapsed. Possibly Miami is still okay. New York didn't do well at all during COVID and during the aftermath. So, I think food service is not going to go away. The way people said cinemas will not go away, and thank goodness there's another blockbuster and it's back to back to normal, which is very good. We just have to play our cards correctly and make sure that we listen to what the customers want.
So, which brings me to the question, what do customers want? Because, one of the trends that we've all observed internationally as well has been the fact that it's not just about the money that people spend, which decides what is luxury or what is upscale restaurant consumption or what is in fact desirable. So even if you look at the sale of luxury goods, for instance, that's been declining, but experiences is at a high. Stories are selling, narratives are selling. What's your take on this, AD? And then I'll come to you, Rohit.
So the cooler diner in India today, he wants newness. You hear me at the back? He wants newness. He's a little bored of what he used to enjoy before. And so you're seeing a spread of fun places like Nutcase in Calcutta. Those of you from Cal, do try that out. Or if you're visiting, it's a fun bar with some drinks. The bartenders wear those, things on their noses. It's a really interactive, engaging experience. Customers want naughty. We've ourselves created a bar called the Love Hotel, small one in Delhi, 20-seater. But it's a little naughty, it's a little kinky, and to my surprise, people are really enjoying that because they want something different. In Bombay, we've just created, Rohit came through, he had a look at it, an aperitivo bar for a slightly older, somebody who doesn't want to shout, somebody who wants to have conversations, a very Italian styled, low alcohol aperitivo bar. So, of course, both of us, what really excites us is creating new things. And I think we'd be doing that in a desert. But the market is ripe for that right now. People want to see new things. it gives us restaurateurs the chance to try out ideas we've had, things we've always wanted to do, but the market wasn't ready for that before. Should I give one more example and then pan over? Yeah. We are, in fact, this weekend coming up, opening a new place in Bangalore, which is basically showcasing as authentically as we can experiences from neighborhoods around the world. And by which I don't just mean a dish, but the rituals, the context, the setting as much as we can, music, aprons, knickknacks, trying to recreate the experience that you would have if you went to these neighborhoods in far-flung countries. We're opening with Japan, Italy, and Lebanon. Next is Mexico and France will get added, Kochi, and then it'll keep growing as the years pass. So we think that'd be very attractive for people. They're exposed to all these cuisines, but to get them more interestingly, more authentically, is what people are also looking for.
In fact, I have to tell you this, Adi. I had a little bit of a peek into this because Dhruv, who's this brilliant chef who works with the Olive Group, has been talking a little bit about it. And we had planned to go to Kochi on a recce and to do this lovely walk with some of the art and architecture also of the city, and yes, to discover the local food there. So I hope all of that makes its way into your restaurant. But yeah, looking forward to that. And Rohit, what's your take?
I always have loved what AD does, and I think we started around the same time, 1986. So my first restaurant, Chor Bazaar, Touchwood, is celebrating its 35th year. So from January onwards, yeah. So and it's been there 35 years, other than some closure during COVID. And we're actually reviving the All American Diner, which another one. So while you're talking about newness, I'm also harking back to retro. So 50s Diner is reopening first in Hyderabad and then elsewhere. But talking about new, we have a brand called Hosa, which actually means new in Kannada. And that opened in Goa. Goa was very slow first year and a half. As you know, everybody got hit. There was a gold rush at Asagaon. Now it's become a bit of a cult because it's on that list that you have to go to. But we surprisingly, my team vetoed me. I was actually really worried because we took a space bang opposite Comorin, which, as you know, does a huge number of people every day, and we thought Hosa would cut into Comorin. But people want something new, and because this is a different type of South Indian, it's not cut in. Both are growing, it's still, it's in Gurgaon. So I think as long as you create a concept which has legs, which you actually see through fully, it works. Many a times, you do something and you already know when you've done it that it's half-hearted. So when you do something with your heart, and there's so many people who get into the restaurant business for the wrong reasons. Somebody's child knows how to cook a little bit, or somebody who feels when they see AD Singh on page 3 every day that this is the life I want. They don't know what kind of grueling work goes behind before that photo with the glass in his hand. So anyway, I actually said to someone, in fact, AD Singh, that's really funny. Somebody said, why don't you do interviews? And I said, you don't understand. I was AD Singh before AD Singh, because I had opened India Habitat Center. I was in the newspaper every day, and I got so alarmed. Every single day it looked that's all I did. I was just standing. So I said I had to take a break till she got me back.
Yeah, can we open this magazine, please?
Oh, goodness. Yes.
Holding. I don't want any copies floating around.
2.0.
No, this is 3.0. 2.0 was two years ago.
No, but I have to add to this because I started commenting on restaurants 25 years ago. And at that time, both of them were the original page 3 people, mind you. And now they are, some of the most elusive restaurateurs around.
Yeah.
So let's now come to also the creatives of the restaurant business, which is now become post-COVID very, very important. Do you feel, chefs increasingly engage in a lot of storytelling these days, and a lot of the younger audience seems to appreciate that. They go to restaurants to consume stories, I feel, sometimes more than the actual food. Do you think that sometimes this sort of narrative overshadows the actual craft of cooking? And how does then that translate into the business of it, AD?
Sunuti, I feel that storytelling is very exciting for all of us and really helps create a complete experience. I don't think it overshadows the craft of cooking, but when you can marry a great story, a setting, and great cooking, that's a lovely experience. Let's say as examples. I haven't been myself. Have you been to Nar?
No,
Yeah,
really keen to go.
me too. Have you been to Nar?
My God, no comments.
So Nar's set in the hills in Himachal, and without having gone what I've heard and read about it, it's a very unique experience about really focus on ingredients, the ingredients of the hills, and what Pratik does with that. And I think that's really fascinating for diners. And increasingly, you'll see that across the country. Restaurants that are, one, of course, showcasing cuisines a bit unknown to us, like the Himalayan cuisines were totally unknown to all of us for so long. And two, creating meals around stories, more than just ingredients, but the history, the traditions, and the stories of that. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Remember, India's got, I'm not even sure how many regional cuisines we have, 20, 25, 30.
Much more. I
Much
mean,
more.
cuisine changes every 100 kilometers or so. So we have a zillion micro cuisines in that sense.
I
Yeah.
think they're going to come out now
Yeah.
for our diners as they should.
Yeah, so back in the day, I don't think people were so much. Of course, those were days without cell phones. I just heard about some chef who banned cell phones in his restaurant. I must figure out who it was. Um, so I remember that time nobody really knew who the chef was. Who did anybody care? You just went there. You went to a Gaylord quality Volga, and you ate good food. And the chef never came out. I remember when I opened in Chor Bazaar in 1990. 1997. 1990 was Delhi. In London, we were making out a list, and I was trying to figure out. They said you got to get stars. You got to get people who are well known for your opening because you get that one chance. So I called up friends and everything, and I gave my list. That these are the people we managed to get, and they said, "Can you get Marco Pio White?" I said, "I've got Sean Connery, I've got Michael Caine. Who's Marco Pio White?" He's a chef. It's the first time I just said, first time that you actually thought of a chef as a star bigger than Sean Connery. That's how big Marco Pio White was at that time. So for my opening in 1990 August, they said get him, and I believe he was traveling. I did manage to figure out someone because they didn't care about the other stars, and that's sure enough. That's what happened, and good for them. The chefs are making money. They have phenomenal social media presence. They're great storytellers. A lot of them come in. The other day, the Condé Nast team said that I think your head chef from Indian Accent has to be told this is a bar now. Because every dish he's spending 5 minutes explaining, Hitesh, you saw how. So Divya Thani said, tell him it's a bar. Just leave it and go. It's great. He's a great storyteller, but everybody now wants to know much more. So that's what's happening. Experiences. How do you make it count? Because food is entertainment. So you're actually there. You're in a theater, and the chef is your director, and he's showing you the show.
I was actually having a very interesting conversation a couple of weeks ago, also with Aditi Dugar of Mask. And, my perception of this space sometimes is that, like I was saying, this theatrics around food sometimes takes away from actually how food is cooked per se. So when there's a disconnect between the product and the marketing of it and the narrative that you're setting around it. And what she said was also interesting, and perhaps the both of you agree with it, that initially there was this whole euphoria when chefs actually and restaurateurs actually discovered these micro cuisines, AD, as you were saying, or just some different ingredients, etc. And all they really wanted to do was also to communicate that. But over a period of time, yes, there is this whole sort of conversation which takes over on social media, and it only becomes that. So now there is this sort of a balancing act that a lot of people are doing, where they are going back to this old qualities of the world, etc., where the product and the food per se was interesting, and toning down, some of this storytelling.
Anuti, if you look at the whole wave of molecular gastronomy, it was interesting, so creative, so technique driven, etc. That took away from good old authentic eating. They both have a different place. I say that's a very good example of where that overshadowed what was on your plate in many ways. And my wife, for example, whenever we travel, would not go. She hated the dish gets wet and what the hell's going on, foam everywhere, etc., etc. So I think there's a very strong trend worldwide on good old-fashioned eating, taste,
And regional, authentic, traditional.
I remember, Rohit, you saying that too. I mean, though Indian accent did play around with presentations, and it was a trendsetter in that way. But I remember having a conversation with you where you said that, and that is what your restaurants are now doing as well, where it's much simpler, and you're coming back to the nuances of it, etc. Do you want to elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, so the brief really on Indian accent was, again, this is 16 years ago, was that presented in a very stylish, maybe Western European fashion, but the taste needs to be Indian. So a lot of the other Indian restaurants that I go to, and some of them are very successful, it could be anything. It could be world cuisine on a plate. In Indian accent, the brief is very clear that it may look like something, but when they take a bite, they must know this is Indian, and don't mix up two different ingredients from two different regions. So you don't try to do north and south together. So that's really been the ethos of keeping it simple. And the funny part is, like in New York, Indian accent opened 9 years ago, and it still does well. But actually, the ones who are ruling the roost are restaurants like
Exactly.
Sema. Sema is the number
Yeah.
one restaurant in
Yeah.
New York City. It's just authentic South Indian, extra spicy. So the wave is there, back to original khana.
Exactly. So what's next for the both of you? Original Khana, innovation, what's happening? Tell us.
As I said earlier, I think for both Rohit and me, creation excites us. Innovation, new vision, new ideas, things that have been simmering in our minds forever. And I'm sure you'll see a lot more of that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Rohit comes up. He's just opened a bar above Indian Accent Delhi, which I'm dying to go to. Jazz and small plates from below and martinis.
No.
Fabulous.
No, actually, we have a quarterly changing menu. So currently, we're doing markets of Delhi. So just from mutton from Jama Masjid, from different parts, Nizamuddin, different markets of Delhi. You've already been there. You must come. And an old style martini and jazz bar, which was missing, and it seems to be a fun thing. In fact, a lot of people have said, because it's so small, saying, "Can you make this members only?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. Let's take more money up front." Why won't you? It's a really good idea. But yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward. We've got 2 more new concepts under development. But basically, I think for scale, one needs to now replicate also. So we have 7 brands that we are growing in major cities, and that should be the front. But then once in a while, you see a space which can't take any of your brands. Then what do? So you create something new.
So let's talk about two more things that I see as distinct trends. Let's one talk about these small individualistic restaurants that are doing really well versus this whole ambition of scaling them. Rohit, and our cover story in this magazine that Rohit is holding is precisely on this. I think he's going to grow India's biggest company of, how do we describe it, as fine casual restaurants. So talk a little bit about that, the challenges involved in scaling something that is so nuanced, sophisticated, and yet you have to multiply it. And then AD, I'll ask you the same thing.
So I think the jury's still out there. We opened our second Cormoran. Third one's about to open in Hyderabad. We opened our second Hosa, our second Fireback. Fine casual, why? Or I guess the category called premium casual. I'm calling it fine casual because people end up giving us awards for best fine dining to Cormoran. It's 1550 a head. We never thought it was fine dining.
That's the post-COVID change that's
Yeah,
come. No one
so-
knows what fine dining is.
Right. So but we get the award now. What are you going to say? I don't want it. So you take it, but you know you're in the wrong category. You know you're totally in the wrong category. It's not fine dining. It's just fun dining actually. But we realized that we had this sweet spot where, because we spend so much time on the design and a lot of our landlords cash on the design, we uh, we uh, we can get away with charging a little bit more and yet exceeding expectations. I think the whole game is to exceed expectations. You promise something to someone, they come in and they actually have something far better, and they're so happy with the amount they spend. The moment that is a misfit, so once in a while you have a excuse, you have somebody who's really shocked paying the bill at Indian Accent, and you can see that on the Google review and all.
Okay.
So a lot of time people say, "Oh, खर्चना नहीं था इतना या नहीं था." मैंने कहा यार जो भी
So
है.
they are shocked because it's so much, or
Yeah,
not
sure,
so
because
much?
they didn't expect it.
Okay.
Didn't expect to spend that much. But that's once in a while, thank goodness. That's why it's still full. But that I feel bad because the guy came in and we obviously didn't impress him enough to spend that kind of money, and that's very important. If you want longevity of a restaurant, when they come and spend, they need to be able to plan the next meal and say, okay, now my uncle's coming, I'm going to come back again in a month, rather than saying I'm never coming back here again. They took my wallet, and it just wasn't that great. What was the fuss all about? So I think that's crucial.
I can't believe that happens though.
No, once in a while it does.
Yeah?
It does. Yeah, because somebody comes in, saunters in, and has an Indian meal and is not expecting to spend 7,000 rupees in that meal, or 6,000, whatever, depending on what they had to drink. So then they are not happy. Happens.
Okay, well, this is candid conversation. AD, what about you? What do you think? This entire thing of scaling and the challenges associated with it.
Yeah, scaling is not easy. As most of you are aware, the markets in India are quite different, city to city, state to state. For us at Olive, from day one, I think what I focused a lot on was culture. Again, that's something that I think both Rohit and I, a large part of that's very similar. We've really tried to, excuse me, we've really tried to create companies that cared a lot about our people. That old cliche that, we're all like family. We're really, both our companies, our teams are like family to us. I definitely feel they're the reasons for my success. And I've tried to look after them, not just financially, because there will always be somebody coming along with another 10, 20% more, but in many, many little ways, in respect, trying to meet their ambitions, helping them through their tough times. And I think that's one of the things for both of us. It's a takeaway we always like to put out there, is that your teams are so critical. I know at least one restaurant person over there. And do look after your guys. I think it's the best way to ensure success. And I think part of our success, therefore, as a company, as we've scaled, is we got that right. Yeah. So we have a lot of people who've been with us for 15, 20 plus years. And they carry my broader vision, ideology, and obviously add their own strengths to that. And then that's accounted for our ability to reasonably scale across India.
That's very true, and I'm sure you have a lot to say about this as well. I mean, this is something we don't talk about very often when we talk about the challenges of scaling, but I think that's the most crucial bit, the human element. And also, Rohit, if you could talk about the different chefs now that you are juggling, each of them looking after one particular brand, and that's challenging too. Talk about that.
So for consistency, the recipes and the chefs need to be constant. So what we've done is we have a brand chef. So we have 7 brands. Each brand has a chef, barring Indian Accent, because Indian Accent, after Manish decided to leave, um, we realized that we need to give enough freedom to each one of the 3 chefs. So Bombay, New York, and Delhi are run independently. The signature dishes are pretty similar. Other than that, again, Shantanu has been with us 26 years. Even the Bombay guy, Rijul, 12 years now. Dheeraj, 22 years, brand chef of Comarin. Um, Nitin, our CEO of 23 years. So consistency is there. We know that hospitality industry, and we're certainly not the best paymasters. So obviously, it's a lot of soft skills and empathy and being able to work with them, because you're as good as the people that we're not there. In fact, most people always used to, when you actually put your chefs up front, they actually take ownership, because then complaints me only came. So most people didn't know I owned Indian Accent. They thought Manish owned it. So I was very happy with that. So, as long as the money was coming to me, the praises and the brickbats he had to feel, which is fine. And the same is now happening with Shantanu. So, which is okay. And that's the way to be. That's the only way to grow, actually.
Yeah, the tightrope will always be this. I think, individuality, creativity, a sense of community, all of these things that have come up in the post COVID world versus the mechanics of the business and, how are you actually making money. I have one last question, but before that, I am going to open this up to the audience in case anyone would like to ask any question. Samir.
We're going to hear a broadcast level voice.
Wow.
Jesse. Jesse.
Simple question. Either of you, as you're expanding, are you going to reach scale where you think you look at an IPO? Is
This
that
was my question. Thank you for
no.
asking.
Is that on the 3 to 5 year horizon for either of you?
Pretty small. Pretty small. I
Too
don't know
small?
whether.
Still too small?
Yeah. We probably. I mean, people keep on telling us,
Yeah.
but I don't think
No.
fully ready yet.
Okay.
Another year, 2 years, 3 years, we'll see.
80?
The industry, the industry in India is a bit small growing. So a lot of us are talking about merging a couple of the different companies to achieve sort of the minimum scale you need to do a meaningful IPO. Very few of us are there yet.
There's very few large. QSR, yes, and Domino's has been the poster boy of that. But in casual fine dining, there's nobody really. I mean, maximum you have 10, 15, 20 restaurants. So difficult unless you really scale up or merge, like you said.
Okay.
Karan.
Growing up in Delhi in the 80s and 90s, I must confess, you were guys that we really looked up to for everything to do with food and in some part lifestyle as well. I think both the restaurants that you guys started back then continue to remain as strong as they are. Thank you very much for what you do. So it's a fanboy moment for me personally. Uh, the one question that I did have was there's a lot of buzz on this word called innovation, and everybody seems to be throwing that word around very, very loosely. I did hear of some concepts that ADU spoke of, creating the neighborhood in various places, and that's a very innovative approach to creating experiences. But when it comes to food, uh, you could hold a chef accountable to a traditional recipe. You know what a vaza is supposed to cook in Vazwan. You know how a butter chicken needs to be made. But as soon as you go down that path of fusion, where is the accountability of the chef and of the recipe? and how do you know what's being given out to a customer? Uh, is that good fusion, bad fusion? I know you mentioned something about not mixing spices from two different regions. I'm just curious to know how you look at this entire fusion food concept.
No, you're absolutely right. I think you know. The moment you eat it, you know. I've had enough failed experiments where you try to do it and it doesn't work out, and then eventually they get into the swing of it. So fusion for the sake of fusion is confusion. So that's never going to work. Um, we were basically trying to figure out an Indian accent. I mean, it was really a fresh vocabulary. We hadn't seen anybody else do it at that time, and first year it was a disaster. Nobody came, and people who came said, "ये है क्या? और ये बटर चिकन कहाँ है? और दाल मखनी कहाँ है? और आप क्या कर रहे हो ये? मतलब कबाब लाओ, कोई प्रॉपर लाओ." And till people said, "Okay, this is what these guys are trying to do," and by year 2, year 3, year 1 was we lost a lot of money. It was really a bad time. Uh, so, uh, so we have about, I think, 650 recipes that we know are A plus. But whether we like it or not, each chef wants to do his own new dishes. And now I'm sitting in on all of them because those 600 I know, but now I sit in, 2 3 more people sit in with me, or I'll call someone like her who really knows food, or him, and many a times it doesn't work. We know when it'll work. The chef himself, actually, they're so seasoned, they'll try some things. So just for the sake of looking good, we won't just put something on the table. It has to taste good also, because there's no point otherwise. So yes, to answer your question, excellent question. They can be. It's experimenting. It's like being in a chemistry lab, right? It's either going to, that formula is going to work or it's not going to work. And there's no better judge than your own palate. You'll taste it, and you're not going to say it's very good if it's not. So that's what happens.
I've been surprised, Karan, actually, that Rohit still tastes every single dish.
Can you make a?
So it comes back to that.
Yeah, always.
I have a take on this too. I think, this is something that I've been observing, especially, because we are talking post COVID, this trend has become even more pronounced, where much like art, now chefs are deemed artists in their own right. And there's a very thin line between when you treat it as art, between experimenting and then self-indulgence, which is completely, artists all have hubris. What is completely, it's like a movie. You can make a completely self-indulgent movie, which does not have resonance with a wider cultural memory. And I think that is something that needs to be cracked. And when they taste food, or when anyone with a good palate tastes food and is unbiased, can make that out. So that's very important. Yes.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to ask about two things. One was about the post COVID world, because I do understand the enthusiasm you talked about right after COVID. But as someone who lives in Delhi and does go out a fair bit, do you notice again a fatigue with the travel, the commute, the pollution, this talk about niche, koi ghar mein ek table pe 5 logon ko khila raha hai, and that kind of thing, and the restaurants seem a little emptier, just to the naked eye, just an observation. And secondly, where is tier 2, tier 3 and the rest of India in your plans? How is that part of India eating? Does all of this hold true for anything but the metros?
So yeah, you're right. We just covered. Mic's working. Can you hear me? Thanks. So yes, I mentioned earlier about post-COVID, how everybody came out. That lasted for about a year and a half, what everybody was calling revenge dining. And that was great for us. It helped us all get back on our feet. But yes, post that, the last year or two, let's say, max, there has been some level of fatigue. Maybe people spent all their money as well. Sure. So, yes, the restaurants are a bit emptier. Also, what's happened is when people see success, everybody runs in. So, during COVID, there was about 20-25% closure of restaurants. It was very high. So, coming, post it, it was nice and easy. We had, we had a wider customer base, lesser restaurants. But people rushed to open. So today, Goa, for example, is just choked with new restaurants, good new restaurants, but not enough of an audience. And I'd say that's somewhat true from our observation around the country. So it has slowed down, unfortunately. We all have to work harder, be a bit more innovative to get the diners in. With respect to tier 2 and tier 3, for all of us restaurants, we've been very excited about these emerging markets. We really looked at them as where we could grow, and there were enough examples of the first people who took steps into wherever it was, Dehradun, etc., started doing very well. But our own experience, the Olive Group opened a lovely Olive Cafe in Chandigarh. It was a smash hit. It was, I'd say, Chandigarh's best restaurant. Beautiful, really good food. But about a year in, as Chandigarh's Mohali, Panchkula also grew, the business dropped. And I think that's the most relevant thing for anybody looking around the country, is the size of the markets. I think they're still small. And as more and more national brands, as well as homegrown brands, open there, I think there's not yet enough depth to sustain us at the levels we would like. So I've actually pivoted the company's growth plans currently to the 8-9 metros that we're in. These metros have also grown, and their suburbs are also good markets. Easier for us to service those. So our company's focus has shifted back away from tier 2, tier 3 to the metros that we're in.
Rohit, you have a
Yeah,
take on that?
we're actually limiting it to 5 cities currently. So Delhi and Gurgaon I'm counting as a separate city. To answer your question, my closest friends who live in Gurgaon haven't come to my bar at Indian Accent. Just won't travel. That 2 hour commute and the smog and everything, they just won't do it. But luckily, in over Indian Accent at the Lodi, I don't care if they come or they don't come, it's packed in any case. And similarly, in the old days, I know we had about 10 tables at Common in Gurgaon from Delhi. That's receding. It's still, again, Gurgaon's grown so much. So we've done doing Delhi, Gurgaon, Bombay, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. Not even going to Calcutta and Chennai because I've heard, I don't know enough, spending propensity is lower. So why go when you have enough? Plus, getting to know a new city is a big pain. I remember it took me so long to open in London, so long to open in New York. Now we're going to go open 5 in Hyderabad and we're all there. Next 3-4 months, the whole top team, we'll all soak it in, understand the city because otherwise you can't. B towns, I traveled all over. I couldn't see most of our brands, but we just signed Chor Bazaar in Jaipur, Guwahati, which I was never thinking. These are licensed, so I'm not putting my money. You want it, we'll do it for you. You want a specialty, so maybe Chor Bazaar in the diner. These two at 1,000-1,200 rupees we can take to B towns. I'm not sure. I'm dying to see his olive in Ludhiana, which I believe is because I saw it coming up. It was just beautiful, and I know that Ludhiana and Mohali and Chandigarh have the money. So maybe I'm missing a trick there. Maybe sooner or later we'll go there. But there's so much already in these 5 cities. And after these 5, I think Calcutta, Chennai, Pune. Pune is another one. They probably are the better ones to look at before you go into. We keep on getting Raipur. My God, the number of Raipur
There's aspiration for
uh,
sure.
offers we have. And I keep on thinking, but when will I go to Raipur? You know why?
No, I have to narrate a little incident. I was on a flight back from Udaipur and I was sitting next to this couple. Now, this woman was spending close to 40 lakh over a weekend on a wine and sip experience at Sula Vineyards. So that, and they were from, the husband was a trader in, I think, iron, those saryas that are used for construction. So they clearly had the money, they clearly had the ambition to spend as well. But my analysis of that was that they were traveling, and this whole cult of weekend travel is very, very big. So when there are people in smaller towns and they have the money and they want to spend it, maybe they also look for that little dash of cosmopolitan sort of taste and travel that they can go to and indulge there. So yeah, I mean, maybe that's another insight. Anyone else?
Uh, we've of course had. I mean, I've dined at both of your restaurants so many times, and they've been so amazing. My question is, I think, a little bit different as to like at what point do you realize that there's a brand that is not working out, and what do you do with that brand? Like, how do you know that okay, maybe we should shut it, we should pivot the concept for this? Because that's obviously hard. A lot of work, a lot of time, money goes into opening a brand, but sometimes something doesn't work out. So, when does that kind of happen?
No, 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 no. I've had. I don't quit that early. I try to make it work. So one of our restaurants, I won't even tell you which one because everybody thinks they're all full. One of our restaurants, actually, it's now the second year that it's not doing the numbers. We're not losing money, but it's not doing anywhere close to what we think. So I'm giving it one more year, and we're putting in efforts. Uh, I don't know what to do with marketing. That's the one department where there's a lot of churn. I really don't know. People say performance marketing, put money in ads. We've never done it. This is the one thing we don't know. We make the restaurant. By God's grace, people have been coming. I've never been able to figure out how to push sales. You feel that if it's good food, people will come. But there's so much on offer that that particular restaurant we're trying to figure out. We know that the food is good. We know the ambiance is great. We know the service is good. People aren't coming. We're trying to figure out what to do on it. So it does happen. So he's being very sweet. And we have. I mean, we both closed restaurants in the past, so it does happen. So once you've really, really tried, then you. I mean, my ego didn't let me close down a restaurant in Covent Garden. So in Covent Garden, London, um, for in fact, I opened it just before that Lehman Brothers crash. What timing? So I opened in 2007. The crash happened. I kept on, and I ran it till 13. Kept on bleeding, bleeding, bleeding because I thought it was a great location. Actually, it wasn't. So right now, I was asked to look at something um, near Trafalgar Square, and it was fantastic, and everything was set. And somebody told me, don't touch it. Wrong side of Trafalgar Square. And I remembered exactly what I had not listened to earlier. Wrong side of Covent Garden. And I just walked away. I said, okay, I'm not going to. So the location is so crucial. You could open the best restaurant. At the same time, again, London, there was this, one of the great successes of all times is in the worst location possible, is the original Hakkasan. The original Hakkasan, people would have said that they're mad. Why would they open? It worked. That also happens. So it's all kismet. I think the stars have to align somehow. No, but that's true. First year, the location. No, we didn't locate. Not just the location. It didn't work because people just didn't get it. They didn't think it was. They couldn't figure out ye hai kya. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember Javed Saab couldn't get a table And I remember him the first time he came. He said he's the one who said, "Rohit साहब कुछ कबाब लाओ क्या क्या खिला रहे हो?" Then he called me once. यार टेबल नहीं मिल रहा. मैंने कहा जावेद साहब वही जगह है. Yeah.
So, you know, for us,
Great recipe. I lost my wallet there. Found it.
it's true, you know, for us, these are our babies.
Yeah.
And like Rohit, even I've tried at my best to, you know, turn places that are struggling around probably much longer than I should have. If you're bleeding, you know, maybe you should. But the thing is that we feel they're good products. Just tweak a little bit. What's wrong? You know, put a little more attention, effort. I still do believe that if I had a stronger, wider management team, we could probably save some of those that we let go. So we've currently just closed our Toast and Tonic brand. We're both lucky that we have quite a few brands. So if we have a location we like and say 7 years later, 8 years later, something's not working, I switch from one brand to another. That doesn't cost as much and gives us a chance to give it another go. So that's normally the model I follow. I wanted to say that one thing. So I just wanted to add one more thing that we are a small group, but it's lovely. It's been really intimate and felt very, like you're very chatty, like a dinner table conversation. But whenever I'm speaking, I always try to put out there that, you know, unfortunately, we live in a country that's so many people are struggling, and every little drop counts. So both of us actually, I think, give a lot back in a systematic way, and we would love to, I'm sure every year does, we'd love to encourage everybody to keep giving a bit back. Every drop counts.
Thank you. Thank you,
guys.
Aditi. Thanks so much.
Thank you for that wonderful conversation. I hope we will see everyone at the arena at Nagali Hills ground today. Thank you.